What is happening, people? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're keeping well. It is the Premier League midweek show, and I'm joined by a fantastic panel. Firstly, Lewis, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you very much for coming on. Lee, thank you very much for coming on. Shame about, obviously, your connection with Arsenal, but nonetheless, great to get you on the channel. How you doing?
Yeah, all good, thanks. No problems. Happy to be on again, Harry. And yes, we come in peace. You know, the rivalry's there, but it should be a peaceful rivalry.
Yeah, it absolutely should be. It certainly will be while we're on this show. So, no, thank you very much, Lee, for agreeing to do this. Sophie, thank you very much for coming on once again after coming on last week. How you doing?
Thank you for having me on again. It was so fun last week, and it's great to be back. I'm just happy Arsenal have won, really. So yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, no worries at all. I mean, saying to the guys before, what was I thinking? Getting two Arsenal fans, especially after Spurs dropped points. I mean, I really didn't think that one through, but no, it should be a very good one tonight. If you need the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It's free to do so, and it helps the channel and the shows grow. So, it'd be massively appreciated. The first game, so I want to review Matchday 1 first. The first game that happened was Man United and Fulham, where United took all 3 points. Lewis, I'll start with you. What did you make of this? I mean, I thought it was quite a quiet, maybe even quite a boring start to the Premier League being back. Would you say Man United deserved that in the end? Had more clear-cut chances?
Kind of. I think Fulham were unlucky to lose that game. I think it was quite an even game, and I'm pretty sure Barney in the chat will probably tell you himself that he probably thought Fulham deserved the draw, and I think they did. I think there's no doubt United were probably the better team, but I still think that Fulham done enough to deserve a point. But yeah, it was definitely a decent start to the Premier League. I was expecting a few more goals, to be completely honest, but it was still just nice to have the Premier League back on Friday.
It was nice. It was very nice. Lee, ask you the same question. Do you think that United deserved that win? But also, Lewis mentioned it there. It's just nice to have Premier League football back, isn't it?
Yeah, it was good. It's good. Obviously, it's good to have it back. You know, but it's a difficult one. I thought Fulham done okay. To be fair, I thought that they defended, but I have to say, I always thought that Man United were going to win it. Even 20 minutes in, I thought they're going to. And then just when I thought, well, maybe they're going to get a draw out of this Fulham, they score. And once they scored, that was it. I thought Fulham played some good stuff, but never really threatened too much, in my opinion. So I think it's probably a deserved win for United. I didn't think they impressed that much, but first game of the season, you want to get a win under your belt, particularly at home. So they'll be pleased with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's all that matters, getting the points. United, they're half and half struggled, as you said, but they've got the win, and for their sake, that's all that matters. Sophie, what did you think of this game? Do you think Fulham were unlucky, to come away with nothing in the end?
I think it's so unfortunate for Fulham as well, because I know when we previewed the game, I was sort of thinking it would be a draw, so it was a bit annoying United, scoring at the end again like they usually do. But I think for United, they'll take that. It's the first game of the season. You've got to just get that win, even if your performance isn't great. But I think for Fulham, I feel disappointed because they were so close to getting that draw. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that United scored late in the game, to be honest.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, just interested to hear from Barney, who's a Fulham fan, who points out there's always a late goal in this fixture, which is really interesting. And he said that the battle will be get punished at this level if you don't take your chances. So, no, I think that is very true. So that was, I think, it wasn't the awful game to start with. I thought it'd be more entertaining. Obviously, not a lot of goals, but United did get the win in the end. This is the one I'm really looking forward to. Just come up next was the Saturday lunchtime one. It was Ipswich back in the Premier League against Liverpool in a new era under Arne. So Liverpool got the win in the end. They found it hard in the first half, but in the end, were patient. Their patience paid off in that second half. So Lee, I'll come back to you. Were Liverpool, deserved winners in the end in that second half? And could it have been more they won by, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I thought what happened in the first half, I felt that Ipswich done well in the first half. But Liverpool stepped up in the second half, flexed their muscles, showed their class. And I think in the end, it could have been even more. I thought that was a really good statement, good 2-0 win for Liverpool, because I think it's always difficult going to the promoted teams. They're up for it that little bit more. Certainly more Ipswich, because it's been 20-odd years since they've been there. Job done, Liverpool. They look very good, to be fair.
Yeah, they do look very good. I do agree with you on that one. Lewis, what do you think? I mean, Lee mentioned there Liverpool. They look good, but also Ipswich, they've done really well in the first half. What's your kind of takeaway from the game? Is it that Ipswich would be all right? Liverpool look good. I want to know what you kind of thought coming out of that 2-0 Liverpool win.
Well, yeah, I thought first half Ipswich were probably the better team, to be honest. I feel they created, they were playing counter-attacking football. I think they had probably better chances than Liverpool. But second half, Liverpool just completely turned the game on its head, and they were by far the better team in that second half. They probably did deserve to win that game, and I think Liverpool could be very good this season. A lot of people are starting to think that, or before the season kicked off, thinking that under Arne Slot, they probably won't be as good as they were. But I think and because they ain't doing many transfers, they haven't done any transfer activity. But I still think this season they're a force. You can tell from their squad they've got quality players all over their starting 11. So I think this season could be a good season for Liverpool.
I think it certainly can be. I do agree with you. I think that also Liverpool, we talk about that squad depth. I think you look in attacking positions, they've got so many options to choose between. So I think they'll be okay. Yes, they haven't looked at the transfer window. Maybe someone next to Van Dijk or that long-term Van Dijk replacement is eventually needed. But now I think they've got a fairly stable and, they've got a really good squad with a lot of numbers in there and a lot of quality. Unlike Chelsea, where you've got a huge squad, not quite that big. But Sophie, I'll come to you. What did you think of this? I mean, we talked a lot, didn't we, in the previous show about Ipswich. How do you think they generally done their first game? It wasn't easy when you see you've got Liverpool at home, Manchester City away the first two games. How do you think they've done in this one?
Sure, I think we kind of expected Liverpool to win this, even though the first half was a bit of a difficult one. But I see them staying up this season. I think they'll probably struggle against sort of the teams like us and Spurs and the top sides. But I do feel like they'll have enough to stay up, and it's so tough playing against Liverpool because a lot of people have wrote off Liverpool this season for getting top four or challenging. I mean, they could. You don't know. You can't predict. They could, compete like us and Man City. So I think Liverpool are still a good side. I know they've not really, changed their squad. They've not really added any other players, but I think it's always a tough game against Liverpool. So I think Ipswich did what they could, but we know Liverpool, they're clinical. They've got some great players. Salah, they've got such a great squad. So I think that game, I wasn't surprised when Liverpool won, but I think it's always a tough game, especially the first game of the season.
Yeah, it is always tough, but no, I think they've done okay. Got a lot to learn, I think, but a lot to take away. I think they're trying to look at the positives of that first half and go, how can we sustain that performance? It wasn't sustainable, though, having said that, the intensity they played at. But no, I agree with all of you that I think Ipswich put up a good fight in the first half, but this Liverpool team looked better than some people, anyway, originally thought. The next game, because we have to, but we move on to, is Arsenal's 2-0 win against Wolves. So, Sophie, we'll start with you on this one. What did you make of it from an Arsenal point of view? Was it a case of, it is 3 points and you've done it quite comfortably?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just got to say it was really good to see that Arsenal gave that tribute to Super Kev, because I think that was amazing, first of all. And I think for me, this game was sort of like we had to win that for Kev, really. But do you know what? I always say the first game of the season, we're not going to play amazing, because I thought a lot of the players in the game didn't play how we sort of know them to play, like Rice, Thomas Partey, etc. But we won. We got those 3 points. It's a big talking point at the moment, and I speak to a lot of people about it, about Martinelli. There's also that conversation as well, because he didn't have the best game, and I feel like we've got to sort of give him time to see will he grow in confidence, will his goals come back. But really good to see as well Saka do a really good game, score, assist, Havertz as well. I was really happy with that, and I thought Raya had a great game. I thought, not only getting a clean sheet, but I thought he made some incredible saves, because at the back, Saliba, we don't usually say this, but he did make quite a few mistakes, and Gabriel was probably the better defender in that game. But I think it's the first game of the season. We got that win. I can't really complain. But I think going into our next game, we've got Villa, and it's a bit of a tough game coming up. But I think you've got to be happy with that win and a clean sheet, especially, like I said, the first game of the season is always tough.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, winning a clean sheet, I think that's pretty perfect. You can't get that much better than that. I know, of course, you blow Wolves away, but all that matters is you get the win. I think a clean sheet was really nice as well. I mean, if you keep keeping those clean sheets like you did last season, I might have to look to my FPL team and
Yeah.
put some of the Arsenal back line in. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't ignore that fact. Keep keeping clean sheets, but no, it was comfortable for Arsenal in the end. Lee, what did you make of it? And can Arsenal do it this year?
Yeah, they can. Unfortunately, there's that Man City are still there and thereabouts, as they proved on Sunday. But yeah, like listen, you've got to get off to a good start, and Arsenal got a tough few games coming up now. So it was important that you get off to a good start. You've got to win your own games, simple as that. I think that let us down last season, if I'll be really honest. Listen, it's never going to be one in the memory bank, but I think when you're going for titles or top four or you want to be in that, you've got to have 5, 6, 7, 8 of those games at home. It's just you just won the game, move on, and you don't want all those last minute thrilling goals and things like that all the time. They're great to have every now and then, but ultimately you want to be a controlled performance and a controlled win, and that's what it was. Wolves had their moments. I've got to say that I was more impressed with them, if I'll be really honest, than Arsenal. I thought they was a little bit more ready than us. But what happens is with teams that are at the top is that they've got that little bit of magic in certain areas, and that's what we got with Saka. 2 moments of magic, and we got through on that. And if I be honest, it wasn't, as I say, it wasn't the greatest performance, but you take a win like that, and then you move on, and that's exactly what we did. So it was just good to be back at the Emirates. Good atmosphere, as Sophie said, it was great. Like the first 10 minutes of that game, I couldn't get into it because of what the emotion of what had gone on before with Kevin. So so it was an emotional game for me from a personal level as well. But listen, we got the result, and that was fine.
Yeah, that's the main thing. You certainly did. I just think that first day, it's hard. You come back. I know we have pre-season, but I think it's half of the players. You never see a stand-up performance often in that first game. It's okay to get the win, and as you said, Lee, that home win, the clean sheet, you going into those harder games. But Lewis, what did you make of this? Obviously, from us, a Spurs point of view, we should be used to this for last season. Arsenal keep on winning. Maybe one day we're used to it with Spurs, but I don't think we're quite near that yet. But what did you make of this game? And actually, let's focus more on Wolves, because Lee did mention it there. I thought they played some good football at times, and you see bits in pre-season. I think they could have a really good season. Do you think? I think they could.
I think they could. I think Gary Neville's a brilliant manager. I think he's done very well with what current Wolves team he's got. And when he came in last season, I think Wolves definitely had chances. They had a few moments in the game where they were playing decent football, but it was just Arsenal in the end. They probably deserved it. I think they created the better chances, having more shots, and that's how you win the game of football, I think. But I mean, Wolves definitely had some good moments. I think the fans can't be too. I mean, they won't be too disappointed about that, because they know from watching that game against Arsenal that they can have a bright season. And although the result's disappointed, they'll look at that and think they can do well this season.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you very much. Next game is Everton's loss at home to Brighton. The scoreline came as a surprise to me, and they were, already 2-0 down before they lost Ashley Young through, second yellow card. I mean, Ashley Young, I mean, I don't know what's more surprising, the fact that he keeps on getting these red cards, or he's still playing consistently in that Everton back line. But no, it was a disappointing start for Everton. So, Lewis, I will remain with you. From like a Brighton point of view, I mean, it looks really exciting, doesn't it? New manager, youngest manager, and they win in style on the first day.
Yeah, I think from a Brighton point of view, that's brilliant. Under their new manager, Hazard, only 31. I mean, I think that's pretty incredible how young he is in these. They outclassed Everton, and we all know with how Everton play, they're really defensive, and they'll struggle, and they'll make it hard for you to create chances. But Brighton just was so much better than them, and they completely deserve that. And I was rather happy because I took Mikalenko out of my FPL team a few hours before that game, so I was very happy about that. But no, I think from Brighton point of view, it was a brilliant performance, and I think obviously you don't want to read in too much between the first game of the season, but if they can play like that throughout the season, they might have a really good season and a surprising season, because I think I didn't expect that from Brighton one bit, but I think that was a brilliant performance from them away from home as well. Everton and Goodison Park's never an easy place to go to, but to score 3 and take 3 points, I think that's brilliant from a Brighton's perspective.
Yeah, no, definitely. Sophie, on Everton, obviously it doesn't look good losing that. Yeah, the first game of the season, we hear Sean Dykes talk about fans leaving early, and kind of that sums up Everton when things aren't going well. Do you worry for them and they could get sucked into another relegation battle this season?
I think it's tough because, like we said, the first game of the season, it's always a tough one, especially when players have been away or played in Euros, and they're coming back. It's always a tough one. So I think for me, that game, I think they've just got to put it behind them. I think you've just got to take each game at a time. So it's, I saw that result and I was like, yeah, I mean, I did think Brighton would win, but not by that much, honestly. But yeah, I think he's just got to take it each game at a time. But I don't expect Everton to be in the relegation zone this season. I think there's a few other teams you could definitely put there, but I think Everton will stay up. But this result definitely hasn't helped them to start off. So I think they've just got to forget about it now and see where they've gone wrong. And yeah, I think they've just got to focus on the next game because, like I said, the first game of the season is very tough. And Brighton, like you said, new manager, they're probably going to have a much stronger season. So I think it's always tough.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you very much. Lee, what did you take out of this? Is it a case of Everton are bad and that they don't really look like they've improved much, if not got worse from last season? Or was it Brighton? They were just very, very good, a very good start. Ashley Young, was it a bit of both? What do you kind of take from that?
Oh, I don't really know. Really, I was shocked at the weekend. That was a shock result for me. I honestly felt that Everton, if you look at the back end of last season, beating Liverpool at home, I felt that they was going to be a little bit better. Obviously I've got a soft spot for Everton. I always follow Everton, but I honestly genuinely thought that they was going to win that game. And when I see it that they were 3-0, I didn't even know Ashley Young had been sent off. I would say it's 3-0 down. It was a shock, but listen, I felt that. It probably wasn't a 3-0. There was moments for Everton, but now they've lost that first home game. The next game is away to a certain team that they're not going to get nothing from that. So then they're going to be on 0 points after 2 games. Pressure's on. Pressure's starting to get to them, early. They lack a striker. I know they've got Calvin Lewin, but I think that they need something else alongside that. I just feel that they run out of options very, very quickly. But listen, I think that it's okay criticising Everton and all that, but you also have to praise how good Brighton were on the day. Not only the way that they played it on the counter-attack, they were clinical as well. They had 4 or 5 chances, burying 3, and I think they had an offside goal which was close as well. So all of a sudden, it just shows you there's no easy games in the Premier League. You think you're going to beat this team and beat that team. There's no easy games, and Brighton proved that they're a very, very well organised and well run club. So take them lightly at your peril.
Yeah, definitely, and they certainly are. And I agree with you. There is no easy game. I've realised that by now. That is an example of that for Everton's sake. But I do think you do have to give credit to Brighton. I think they're going to be a lot better than even myself I thought they were. I think they're probably finished at the bottom half. I think it'll be more a transition season, season rule changes. But already first game of the season, it does look good, and people go, but Young was sent off. But the game was really done by then. Brighton were 2-0 up. Already had a goal disallowed, as you said. We're in total control. The next game, I don't think comes as a surprise of the scoreline in terms of Newcastle, who beat Southampton. Maybe the biggest surprise would be they didn't beat them by more, but Southampton put up a good fight. Sophie, we'll start with you on this one. What did you make of this? And we talked about in the previous show that we could all agree that Newcastle were favourites. Again, for Newcastle, was it just a case of getting the win? It didn't matter how, newly promoted team where they've got a lot of energy, and I thought Southampton put up a good fight.
Yeah. I think the first game of the season, I think you've just got to go in it and just win it. But like you said, I mean, when we did the predictions, I was thinking it'd win like 2 or 3-0, especially with the squad they have, and we've seen how good they've become the last few seasons. Newcastle, I think if they want to get better this season, I think they've got to maybe score a few more goals and defend a bit better. But I do think, like you said, they've got that win. I think you've just got to get the wins. First game of the season, I think it's always a bit tough, especially when you're playing teams that have come up from the Championship. So I always find those tough games. But yeah, I was a bit surprised I saw that result because I did think they would have won by a lot more, to be honest. But as you mentioned, Southampton have come up, they're going to come up for a fight. They want to stay up. The teams that have been promoted are going to want to fight. So yeah, I was a bit surprised, but I think, like you said, Harry, they've just got to get that win for the first game of the season.
Yeah, no, definitely. Lee, what did you make of this one? Southampton again, another newly promoted team. How do you think they done going to the James's Park? I don't think it's the easiest start, was it? I mean, I think they can hold their heads high. Just really a mistake by Alex McCarthy that let them down.
Yeah, they'll be looking at that as a missed opportunity. Missed opportunity. Down to 10 men. Missed too many good chances for a game like that. When you go away from home, if you get 3 or 4 chances, you've got to take at least one of them. And I felt that you got like most of the second half, or all the second half, and a little bit of the first half with 10 men. You're 0-0 at that stage. You concede when you got 10 men. They'd be disappointed with that. I know that if that was my team, I would be. It's different if Newcastle winning 1-0 and then you got to try and break it down. But it was 0-0 when they went down to 10 men. Missed opportunity for me for Southampton to get a really unexpected 3 points, because at the beginning you would have, put it was the banker of the weekend, really, Newcastle Southampton, if I'll be really honest. But it could have worked out so much different. Take your chances and be a little bit more disciplined. But they got found out, one mistake, and what a silly mistake. What was the goalkeeper doing? But anyway, that's another thing. Mess up and you get punished at this level, and that's exactly what happened. And I would have been disappointed if I was a Southampton fan up there on that day coming home, all that way home. Missed opportunity.
Definitely. I don't think Newcastle at their best. I think Southampton dominated for large periods. I do completely agree with you, Lee. I mean, Lewis, Lee's right, isn't he? It is a missed opportunity for Southampton. How do you think they should look at it? Should they look at it in terms of, we should be disappointed, or, but we take away kind of the positives from this, or, how does Southampton look at this and go away and improve, because they were so close to getting something against the James's Park, which they weren't expected to. You've got to remember that.
Yeah, they weren't, because I think Southampton were the better team that game. I think for sure. I think they recorded about 20 shots compared to like Newcastle's 3 or 4, something like that. I think Southampton were by far the better team here. Generally, I think they would be so disappointed to not get at least a point, because I think they definitely could have got 3 if they just took the chances a bit. So I think Southampton can build on this. I know the red card in early stages probably will help them a lot in that, but I definitely think Southampton were better than Newcastle, and they can take some positives away from that and build on to this coming weekend. But I think they'll look at it as a massively missed opportunity, because I definitely think they could have got 3 points there.
Yeah, no, I definitely think they'll be very frustrated with that one. Russell Martin will be. Lee, I'll start with you on this one. Forest versus Bournemouth, a 3 p.m. game. I don't think it would have attracted that many people, apart from your Forest Bournemouth fans. Anyone who thinks it's going to be in the relegation zone. But how do you see, both the seasons going for these teams? Forest, I think, will they be in trouble? Do you think they get dragged into that relegation fight?
Yeah, I fear for Forest. If I'll be honest. I feel that they could get in there. They've battled against it the last couple of seasons without really pushing on. I know that they had the points deduction last season. I don't think that they've done really that well in the transfer market at the moment. They've kept a couple of their players, which is very, very important. A couple of their better players are still there, but they need to add a couple. Otherwise, they could get drawn into it. I know you're probably looking at it and you'd say, like, as a Forest fan, you'd be like, well, there's a couple of teams that have come up and not quite as good as us, so we might. So they cannot keep thinking like that. You've got to try and make it. You mark yourself, and I think they flirted it for a couple of seasons, and they may do again. Bournemouth, I think, will be fine. I think they'll be fine. It depends how their new forward gets on. They've got to somehow replicate like 19 goals that they've had taken out of their team from Solanke, which is going to be difficult when you think like where Bournemouth were. But Bournemouth don't forget, had a real poor start last season and then kicked on. So I think they'll be fine. I think, listen, if you've ever been to Bournemouth, you know what it's like. They're punching way above their weight. I don't know how they do it, if I'll be really honest, but they do. So, hopefully that they will survive. And I think Bournemouth have got enough in the tank to make sure they're okay.
No, I do agree with you on both teams, in particular Bournemouth. I think they'll be all right. I think the manager kind of glues it together at the moment. I think they'll lose Iriola. They might be in a bit of trouble having not got Solanke to get them out of that kind of sticky situation. And Forest as well, I think they've got to be very careful, and I think we'll be looking over their shoulders for this season. Sophie, what did you make of this one? Is it, case of for Forest so close to getting those 3 points? Will they be frustrated, Nuno, in Forest?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to be honest, I think when you look at this game, a draw doesn't, surprise you. I think they'll both wanted to win that game, but yeah, it's obviously so frustrating when you're so close to that win and then they equalise. But I think like Lee said, I think Bournemouth, I think they'll be okay this season. I mean, I'm not saying they'll have a season that they had last season. I think they might, be a bit more lower in the league without Solanke, but I do think they'll be okay. I think, like you said, they've got enough. Forest as well, it's so tough with them. They'll really want to stay up as well. But I think, like we said, I think when you start the first games, you always want to try and get that win. So I think on both sides, it's not the worst result. You've got to sort of take the positives and that you've got a point. But yeah, I think that result doesn't surprise me really.
No, I don't think it surprised a lot of people. They had a draw written all over it at the start, and you just knew. I think the longer it went on, and Forest didn't get the second goal, you always thought, can Bournemouth get something out of it? They left it late, but they did. Lewis, what did you make of this one? For me, this was a game that I wasn't that interested in, but came on a match of the day, so I had a little watch, and it was quite a quiet game, wasn't it? But Forest will be disappointed. I don't think they're going to get that many wins this season. Lee talked about it earlier. Home games, you've got to win them. Opening day could have been a perfect start for them, but they didn't get that win, did they?
No, they didn't. And obviously, probably not the most interesting of games, but I think it was probably one of the most evenly matched games because they were both going quite. It was a little bit end to end, and both teams were very evenly matched, I think. But yeah, Forest will be disappointed they didn't win that because they were leading obviously for the majority of the game. And obviously, had that incident with Danilo. I wish him well, and I'm sure he recovers as quickly as possible because that was a pretty horrific incident. But no, I think Forest, they probably have potential of getting pulled into the relegation zone or the relegation battle. I think they might just to be able to avoid it. So I think maybe a team like Leicester, or I know we supposed to them, but maybe a team like Leicester or Ipswich may be pulled down into that above Forest. But I still think Forest would just about get out that relegation battle, but I think Bournemouth will be fine. I think they have the ability to adapt without Solanke. I think players like Semenyo could come into that and will have a good season. I think they'll probably finish around 15th, 14th, somewhere about that. And I think Bournemouth fans will probably be happy with that. I think they're just one of those teams that are just happy just keep being in the Premier League, I think, and just try and get up as mid-table as possible.
Yeah, I mean, Lee said it as well. They are punching above their weight. So just to be in the Premier League every season, I think for them is an achievement. But the next game, was one I was really looking forward to. And I think it did live up to the expectation. Maybe not so much in terms of West Ham fan point of view, but it did end a 2-1 Villa win. Villa obviously lost first game of last season, so promising signs to change that. And it wasn't the easiest start for them. So, Lewis, I'll go back to you for this one. What did you think of this? I mean, obviously, from the Spurs' point of view, it's hard who wanted to go into this winning this. Yeah, we don't like West Ham at all, but Villa, we could be in a top 4 race, top 6 race at this rate. It go further down in the relegation battle, but no, you should be in a race with Villa coming into the season or thereabouts. What did you make of this one? Do you think it was a case of, West Ham didn't take their chances when they were on top, Villa did, and Villa walk away with 3 points?
Yeah, completely agree. I feel like West Ham definitely could have got a draw out of that game. They probably deserved a draw out of that game. But in the end, Villa were just more clinical, and that's how you win a game of football. And I think West Ham will be a bit disappointed with themselves. I think, obviously, we can all agree they've probably done some of the best transfer business this window. I think a lot of people look at them every few days and they've just got a new player walking through the door. You're like, what's going on? But I think they just take time for these players to get integrated and gel into that squad. I think they've got a lot of quality. They're bringing in good players. I think it'll just take a few weeks to get them gelled in and to start building a team. And I think they can do well, West Ham, this season. I think they can definitely have the quality to maybe push for a Europa Conference League or Europa League spot this season. But I think it just takes time. Obviously, new managers, well, Lopetegui, it's just going to all take a bit of time. So they just need to be patient. But I think if they get to around the midpoint of the season, I think they could find themselves pushing for European spot.
I think quite easily. I mean, it pretty much is a new back line, which is what they needed. Originally, I thought before they brought the players in, I was thinking, Moyes is punching above, West Ham punching above their weight, should I say, under David Moyes. I was thinking, Locatelli, I think he's all right, but I think they're going to struggle. But they've recruited so well and they've brought in so many exciting players. They've pretty much replaced Antonio for now. They've strengthened their already really good forward line. Midfield, I think, was quite solid anyway. They've added Rodriguez into that. Then defence, it's a whole new back line with Areola in goal. That team is capable of finishing inside the top 6, 7. So I do worry about them this season. Lee, I mean, I was going to say, do you worry about West Ham this season? From an Arsenal point of view, you won't be. Shouldn't be. But what do you think? How far can West Ham go this season? Is it a case of a top half finish? Can they push for Europe?
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you guys. I thought they've recruited really, really well. They've got the average age of the squad down, particularly at the back. I think it was an aging back four, and I think that they've refreshed that up. I actually thought that they would beat Villa. I really did. So you have to give Villa credit for that to go away to West Ham. I think West Ham's going to be one of the toughest places to go this season. So they'll be well happy to get those points early doors. But I think West Ham will get better as they go along. I think that's clear. Might sign his bed in a little bit. And I had West Ham down as my surprise team this year. I did. I felt that they've recruited really, really well. Gone about their business quietly as well, but but invested in some top players, and they've still got a couple of good players there from last season as well that they signed. So I also think that because of the Moyes situation, it's very, very divided there, and they've now got all the fans back on side. So it'd be difficult. But credit to Villa. That's a really, really statement win for them, going away to West Ham and getting that result. A lot of people are sort of saying, and me included, saying, with the Champions League, they might not be as quiet as on it as well. But to go away to West Ham, get that result, I think they'd have said at the beginning of the game, they'd have took a draw there. But now, to get the 3 points, so fair play to Villa. That's a good result.
It certainly was. No, I do completely agree with you. I mean, you talk about West Ham's talent there. I mean, and also done good business, as you also say, with like Tadibo, is something like, isn't it, where he plays 10 games and then they get the obligation to sign him for not a lot either. Just clever business like that. And they've got some star players that have already kept Paqueta, Bowen. So I think that is a good West Ham team, but absolutely credit Aston Villa. Sophie, what would you see out of this? A case of, West Ham, that team's going to take time to gel, but it is credit Villa, isn't it? They had to work hard for it, but they came away with all 3 points. I mean, I'm with Lee. I didn't think Villa would get anything from this, but they've come here and they've got 3 points.
Yeah, I think before the game started, when we did our predictions, I think you look at that and probably think Villa, might win because last season they've been amazing and we know how clinical they are. So I think the game, I think it just comes down to, I think they were just more clinical when they had the chances. They took it. But like you said, West Ham are really good, and I think West Ham will have a much better season. I think it's like a fresh start for them, having a new manager and new players in. I think that's very positive. But Villa are also they're doing really well. I mean, we're playing them next, so I'm not looking forward to that, to be honest. They're a very good team, Villa, to sort of come up against because they will take those chances. But I think if I was a West Ham fan, I would be very disappointed because I think they probably deserved a bit more from the game, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Big up to Peter in the chat. I mean, that is
wow, that's dedication.
Just after 4:30 in the morning in Melbourne. I mean, thank you very much, Peter, for joining us. You can go back to bed at any point now. I mean, I totally would. So, do go for it. But thank you very much for tuning in. Next game, so we move to the Sunday. I mean, this surprised me. At the time, I thought Brentford could easily struggle this season. I think Thomas Frank's taken probably as far as they can go. I think Palace, they look really strong, ended the season so strongly. Lewis, did you see this one coming? I mean, I did. I suppose if you think about it now, in terms of the Mark Gay being linked to Newcastle, Anderson, a few talks started to happen. Obviously, we know now that he's going to leave, but a few talks at the time started to happen that he would leave. There was just a lot of transfer conversation, a lot of unrest, if you like. But Palace went into that with clear favourites, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they should have, because I think obviously last season everyone was excited about what Glasner's doing. I still am excited about what he's doing. I think he's doing really well at Palace. And I think I was very shocked because I thought Palace would win by I thought it'd be quite an easy win for Palace. I'll be very honest, because I still think Brentford might be dragged into that relegation zone. They're not doing too much business, and I just think this season with Brentford might just be one too far for them in the Premier League. I could be wrong, and I might be, but I still think Palace will be a good outfit this season. Obviously, there was a lot of transfer speculation over this game because Ivan Toney wasn't involved in the squad as well. He might be going to the Saudi Pro League, so they may be having this season without Ivan Toney as well. Obviously, they brought in a striker, but he's injured for a few months, I believe. But yeah, I still think on the Brentford perspective, I think they'd be very happy with that. A win that they probably wouldn't have expected to get. And even during the game, I feel like Palace maybe were the better side. So I feel like for Brentford's perspective, that's a brilliant 3 points. And if they're going to try and survive the season, which I think they can, then I think it's this sort of games at home where you need to be winning. But Palace perspective, I still think they'll be happy because still feel like they're the better team. They just need to give it a couple of weeks. Obviously, a lot of transfer speculation going on with them now, but I think once transfer window's over and they can focus on the squad they have with them, I'm sure Glasner will do well.
I think he will. I think he showed that at the end of last season. They had really, really solid games, and they just kept getting results. They were very good that second half of the season. I think that if they could maintain that, they'd be very, very strong. That's for sure into this new season. Sophie, what did you think of the game, and also like how Palace have handled the transfer window? I mean, a lot of clubs are after their players, whether it be Eze, Elise, obviously when Anderson, Gahey. How do you think they've handled it? Have they got it right with the players they've decided to cash in with? What we're hearing now is that Anderson, they could go to Fulham in a deal up to 30 million, but they're going to keep Mark Gahey, it looks like.
They're in a tough situation because they've got a lot of good players. But I think with this game, I did probably expect them to win. But, I think like we've said, these games happen. You've just got to pick yourselves up. But I think for them, transfer window is still open. So I think it's tough for them because more players could go. I've always liked Eze, to be honest. Like, if we had the chance to buy him, I would buy him personally. Because I think he would really improve our team. But I think they'll still probably lose a few players along the way. But, like you said, they ended last season really well. They surprised me a lot, to be honest. They did a lot better than what I thought. So I'm thinking, this season, I think they should continue doing that. It's nice to see them do well, to be honest, because they've always been a team sort of lower down in the league. And it's nice to see teams you didn't expect to do well. So, it'd be interesting to see if they do lose any more players, if they bring anyone else in, because I know for them, they're just losing a lot of their players at the moment.
Yeah, they are. And I think Palace, well, it looks like anyway, went into the transfer window, went with Eze and Elise. We're going to keep one and cash in on one. Gay and Anderson, we're going to, again, keep one and cash in on one. I don't think they've done it the right way, especially not with the centre-backs. I think that you go cash in on Mark Gay. What was it, 65? Probably could have got that to 70 million that Newcastle were willing to pay for him. I think now he refused to sign a new contract, and a bit like Zaha, will leave on a free. I think that's guaranteed money that Palace have lost. Instead of Anderson, 28, I think he's got good 3-4 years left in him, consistent, reliable defender. They've got a deal that's worth only up to 30 million. I think that they've had their pants pulled down a little bit with this one, especially with Zaha. Where he walked for free. They could have got a lot of money that they turned down for him. Lee, we get on to Brentford. I'll ask you about Brentford next, but Palace again. Well, how do you think they've coped with the transfer window? Have they got it right, Steve Parish and then Crystal Palace board?
Listen, it's not a question of getting right. It's just how it is, isn't it? They couldn't do nothing about Elise. That was,
I think they got a good deal for Elise.
Yeah, and they're trying to hold firm on Gay, which I understand. They're trying to get the best for them all there. Like they're just, unfortunately, Crystal Palace are in that thing where the transfer market being on during the season is a hindrance to them. It really is. Like, as soon as it shuts, there'd be relief around Crystal Palace, and they can then kick on a little bit, because I think they was, along with Arsenal and Chelsea and Man City last season, they was the informed team at the back end of last season, and what's happened is they're just been, unsteady by the window, and I'm pretty sure the manager don't know who's going to be staying and who's not. If the right offer comes in for Gay, he's going to go. Simple as that, and also Eze, if that's the case. So they'll be a little bit worried about that, and I think that I feel sorry for teams like Crystal Palace because they build up some really, really good players, and then they get unstable by the transfer window, and they also, clubs know that as well, that they can unstable them and make players not turn their heads a little bit, if you've got
Gahey looked unstable, I think, against Brentford. He just didn't come out with it.
Must be, and he's a big move to Newcastle. I think even Liverpool were thinking about it as well. Eventually that's going to happen, and I get it. Probably like when you go to Crystal Palace, it is a stepping stone for to go to a bigger club. I get that, but this is a guy that come from Chelsea with no stock, and Crystal Palace have built it up. Blah 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 blah. But that is football, and I think for me, I'd love to be playing Crystal Palace at this time of the season and not after the transfer window when it's all
definitely
down, because I think that they'd be a little bit better. But in saying that, you have to give Brentford and their manager credit for this, because with the Ivan Toney stuff coming out right on the game, I'm thinking, wow, Crystal Palace will win that game. I was very surprised when I see that they'd lost 2-1. So and Crystal Palace got back into it 1-1. It could have gone even. Well, I know there was the real bad decision for the free kick. Who knows if that gets you go 1-0 up. We all know what it's like when you go 1-0 up. It's a different game, particularly away from home. So I don't know. I think you have to give credit to Brentford, and Crystal Palace will have to dust themselves down again, and they'll be wishing and praying that the end of August comes quick enough for them,
They certainly will. I think they'll be very keen, especially Steve Parish will be like, Glasgow will be like, let's just shut the window now and let's just get on with it. But do you think they'll be all right though, Lee? Do you think Brentford will be okay and will stay? Tony looks like he'll leave.
I think they've got a fantastic manager. I really rate him. I think that this is a manager that loses good players. Probably won a season. He has to do. He knows he's got to do that. He lost Tony for half the season last year when he was flying, and they still managed to do all right. Difficult to beat at home, and they can pull off a little shock away from home every now and then, So I've got a lot of time for their manager, and I get it that if you keep dropping, you've got to somehow push on a little bit, so it will be a bit difficult. But I think that there are worse teams in the Premier League than them at the moment, and I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I think they probably will be okay. Next game, Super Sunday, which was a big interest to a lot of people, it was Chelsea and their massive American football team, so I like to call it, against Manchester City. I think this was only ever really going to go one way, and it did end a 2-0 win to Manchester City. Sophie, what did you think of this one? Coming into it, did you give Chelsea a chance? Do you think they could get something, fresh beginning under Enzo Maresca?
I mean, I'm pretty sure when we did the predictions, I was 3-2 Man City. I just thought Chelsea would do a bit more. I know defensively they weren't too bad, if we're being honest. I think Man City were just very good. But yeah, I just felt a bit I watched the first half and I was a bit we just could only see it going one way, really, with Man City, with Haaland. It's very annoying. I forgot how annoying Man City are when the Premier League's back on. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us knew Man City would win, but I suppose I wanted to see a bit more from Chelsea, attacking wise, to do a bit more, because they had a lot of the balls at times, and they were going forward, but they were sort of overthinking situations instead of just shooting. It was a bit annoying to watch them. But it's weird with Chelsea. They've got a very big squad. I think it's crazy how many players they have, and it's a shame because a lot of the talent's sort of being wasted. But I don't think Chelsea will do too great this season, if I'm being honest. I think you might do a bit better than last season. I'm presuming they will do that, but I don't really think they'll get top 6. So I think Chelsea are going to have a tough season, but Man City, it's just a standard 2-0 victory. We sort of knew they'd win this, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sophie, as a Arsenal fan, does it worry you Gundogan coming back to Manchester City is what we're hearing today? Does that worry you slightly, boost their midfield?
Well, yeah, I mean, he is very good, and it's only a positive for Man City. But I think it's for Arsenal, it's you're seeing a lot of teams around you bring in players. I mean, we've brought in California, and I can't complain about that. But I think if we're bringing in players too, I think I'm okay with Gundogan coming back. But I suppose when we play against them, if we have the squad we have now, it might be a bit more difficult. But yeah, I think with Man City, with their players coming back, it's certainly a positive thing because they'll play against so many teams and do well. And yeah, he's very good at scoring as well. So it's not great for us Arsenal fans to hear he's coming back, really.
No, I bet. Lewis, I'll talk to you. Chelsea point of view. I mean, someone mentions it in the chat there that they are a shambles, aren't they? Really? I mean, what is going on with Chelsea?
They are. I do really feel bad for Maresca because he has like 40 plus players to his that he can choose from, and he has to. And obviously, squad starting 11 and bench, he's having to drop about 10 people that probably deserve or probably good enough to be at least on the bench, let alone or starting, whatever. So I do feel bad for Chelsea and Todd Bowley, whatever. I don't know what's going on because the squad is way too big for them, and they're also signing loads of players for 7, 8, 9-year contracts on massive money, and it makes zero sense. It makes no sense whatsoever.
It's like today, Felix 7-year deal, 42 million. So that means
it makes zero sense.
It counteracts what they're getting for Gallagher because they're selling Gallagher on a 42 million deal and they get signing Felix. And I'm like, I'd much rather have Conor Gallagher. I don't know about you guys. And if we hear this for FFP, they're like completely contradicting that with Felix. I mean, I get it with a loan initially, before Bowley came in, but 42 million for João Felix. So they've already got 7 or 8 strikers.
It makes zero sense as well because obviously you can look at the fact that Cole Palmer's now on a 9-year deal. If Chelsea have a poor season and he goes, I want to leave, how much money they're going to have to pay in compensation to Cole Palmer is massive, and this makes zero sense how many players they've got. But yeah, it is a bit of a shambles situation for Chelsea. That the whole what's going on at the club is just poorly run, and they really need to start to just they need to start getting rid of players because and stop with this 8-year plus contract rubbish. But I think
they do.
Speaking of the game though, I think Man City, they dominated the midfield battle, which was the key area to that win. I think Chelsea's youthful midfield was just dominated by experience, by the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, and Man City didn't even have Rodri in this game. So I think people maybe a team like Arsenal, I think you might be a little bit worried considering they can dominate a midfield like that and still not even have Rodri, or arguably one of the best midfielders in the world right now, in that starting 11. But I think it was a routine win for City, and I think Chelsea can have a very poor season. And I think morale as well was affected. People like Raheem Sterling coming out making these statements, and I think the whole situation at Chelsea right now is just a very poor one.
It is. I mean, I keep thinking that Bowley's going to announce he's going to set up a second team, Bowley FC. This is where all the players are here for. He's going to set up another team that also play at Stamford Bridge. But focus on the game itself, Lee. What did you make of it? Was it a case of just Man City were too good for Chelsea, and Chelsea got a lot of players, new manager? It's going to take time to gel, isn't it? Even if they're going to somehow have a good season, it's going to take time, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with Chelsea, it was back to last season, deja vu. New season, new manager, new players. Same problem. Dealing with 40-odd players, and listen, I think it's ingrained as us Arsenal fans, or it certainly is me to hate Tottenham. It's sort of like that's how it is. But I hate Chelsea. No one's ever told me I hate Chelsea or whatever. I just can't stand what they do. The way that they're treating their players is disgusting. At the end of the day, right.
Look at Chalobah. That's ridiculous with Chalobah.
Yeah, not only him, Conor Gallagher, what they've done to him, what I mean? They don't do so, so I get that. Anybody that wants to go to Chelsea now and you get treated like rubbish, fair enough. You know the history of it. You know exactly what you're getting yourself into. But those young players that have come through the ranks, they don't deserve that. So as the manager, I hope he fails miserably. And I don't care that he, because he knows what he's put himself in for. A little bit arrogant and all that, so listen, the way it goes, hopefully, Raheem Sterling would be a lot longer than him, and they start again with another manager because it is a complete and utter shambles there. And you know what? Couldn't happen to a better bunch, if I'll be honest. In saying that, I wanted them to win on Sunday. There you go, but what I have to say about Man City is Pep. Well, you know what can you say? Look, if Arsenal go to Tottenham in a couple of weeks without Rice, Saliba, I don't know who else we can
Odegaard,
Havertz on the bench or whatever like that. You know, I'll be tearing my hair out if I had any. But they done that at Chelsea and they still won comfortably. And I mean comfortably. I thought it was as soon as they scored, you knew it. Like, listen, they had a couple of moments, Chelsea, but like all teams do. But at the end of it, you know, they showed what their class was and all that, like, you know. And I have to say, it's a great time to take on Chelsea at this moment in time. Ray must be there, like, you know, at this moment in time. So, listen, they got a great couple of results against Man City last season. So, Man City have improved on their points tally if they was to. If they were to continue and get the same results as they did last season, they're bloody improved. You know what I mean? So it's a shocker, like, you know. Everybody's hoping that they won't.
I mean, I didn't think they could improve anymore. But
anybody that says that they're not they sort of. He put it in a bed in the first game, as you say. Rodri's still to come back yet, so you know, good luck. Good luck to who's ever chasing them, like, you know what I mean? That's right.
It won't be Arsenal, Lewis, but we will move on to.
It will be.
First, well, not after this result. 1-1 draw in our first game. I mean, Lewis, I won't ask you about this because we did discuss it in detail. Our own show we had, we both agreed that we needed to vent our frustration. Sophie, it's kind of say neutral. I mean, I'm sure you would have been behind Leicester, but what did you kind of think of this from a Leicester point of view? I mean, it was a strange atmosphere, wasn't it, going into the game? But how do you think they play? Because they approached it with a really negative and defensive style, but they got what they ultimately would have taken at the start of the day, a draw.
Yeah, it was very. Even though last season we've seen Spurs drop points against teams, you shouldn't really be dropping points against. I did feel surprised you didn't win this because it's a game you should really win. But we've spoken about the teams that have been promoted. They want to win their first game. They want to do well. And Leicester as well, we've known how good they've been when they've been in the Premier League. So they've got very good players, Vardy as well. That was a crazy game. It surprised me a lot, to be honest. And it's going to be interesting with Spurs as well, like how they will get on throughout the season, because like I've said about other teams, you do have to put this one behind you and improve. But I was surprised that they scored. It was a very good goal from the team, but you did really well there in moments as well. So it's almost like defensively you're switching off a little bit, because I think defensively, if you improve, I think you'll do very well. It's just I think for Leicester, I think that's a very good point for them. I think they'll be really happy with that. I think with Solanke as well, it'll be interesting to see how he kind of develops throughout the season. But I mean, my top four, I did put Spurs to get fourth, because I think United I'm not too sure on how they're going to do. So I think you just got to pick yourselves up from this one. But I didn't really watch the game. I honestly thought, I'm not going to watch it. Spurs are going to win. I was like, I can't watch Spurs winning. And then I saw it. I was like, wow. So I think you've just got to take each game at a time, and you've got the ability to do well. It's just defensively, if you can improve, I think that's when you'll do well, to be honest.
No, I do agree with you, and it seems carbon copy from last season. We don't get the second goal, we concede, we crumble, and we drop points. It's just already in the first game is what it seems. And at the start of the day, I don't think it would have been disastrous. Because in fact, Leicester sat back. They literally gave us the ball. I don't know how many times we couldn't get that second goal. Okay, we concede.
Make most of it,
we didn't. We concede. We give Vardy about 10 yards. The only player who's going to score for Leicester, he may be injured, maybe 37 years old, but Vardy against Tottenham will always find a way. We let him score, and we just capitulate from then. And we could have easily lost it towards the end. And I hate to say that, where we should have been 3-4 up at half time. Lee, what did you make of it? Taking take your Arsenal hat off, if you like. What did you think of this one from kind of Spurs? Looking at Spurs for you, how do you think we played, Joe, in that first half? Then in the second half, when Leicester got back into it.
I'll be really honest. I don't watch games where I think Spurs are going to win, but I thought I'd have a little watch of this, like for the first 10 minutes, and then after 10 minutes, I put on Only Fools and Horses on UK Goal because I thought I cannot handle this 5 or 6. I thought it was going to be about 5 or 6 nil. But like the old group chats are going and all that, like, and they're saying, they're missing chances and when, and I thought, well, it won't be long. So anyway, half time comes and I thought, I'll do the same thing. I'll watch another 10, 15 minutes, see if anything's changed. And I ended up watching the whole half, and I don't know what happened in Only Fools and Horses at the end. But listen, they should have won that by a counter. They was by far, Tottenham were by far the better side in the first half. And I don't even think, even though I didn't think Leicester were going to score, even when they started getting on top a little bit, I still didn't see Leicester scoring. I thought, you can have a little bit, and then Spurs were going to be, get something. In the end, you're right, Harry. They could have actually lost at the end when Vardy went through. But even at 1-1, if you'd have said to me, like, where's your money on? I thought it was Spurs. I think the injury helped Spurs. It stopped their waves of attack. They sort of got themselves organised, and the substitutions. I think if it had gone another 10 more minutes, I think Spurs would have nicked it. I think that they was on the ascendancy again. Substitutions made a difference, and quite rightly they should when you're playing against a team like Leicester. They haven't got the quality and in depth of a Tottenham, so the substitutions do make a bit of a difference. But woeful in front of goal. Like 120 million pound strike force they had on there in Richarlison and Solanke. I thought Solanke done well apart from his finishing, done a couple of occasions. Just when you think like Leicester are getting the point, and then Richarlison comes in with an open goal header, and you think, oh no, there it is. And then luckily it was on Richarlison's bounce, and it went wide, So listen, I know obviously I've got a few Spurs mates and things like that. They're hugely disappointed because I think that if you genuinely think that you've got a chance of winning the title, you've got to beat teams like Leicester. And I think even if you think you're going to go into the top 4, you've got to get those results because you're going to win 3 or 4. You're going to get some unexpected results somewhere along the line. When you're in top 4, you can afford to lose 5, 6, 7, 8 games and still get top 4. So from that point of view, it's not the end of the world. But I think that I do think that Spurs will be okay. I really do. I think that they've got some really, really good players. Don't like it that the manager is like he is. I quite like him, and I don't.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
I think if he was a manager of only other team but Spurs, I'd kind of like him. You know what I mean? But again, you can't like him. But I think Spurs have got a very, very decent 11. They really have got a decent 11. The 2 central defenders are very, very good. But I don't know about how you guys think. At times, they're playing Leicester, so I understand it. But if you play that eye line against some of the top teams, you're going to get done. You know what I mean? And Van der Ven, I know that he is probably one of the quickest people I've seen. But he will. I remember against Arsenal, he was physically knackered at the end. And you can't keep working a central defender like that all the time. So it'd be interesting. Listen, I think if you go on the back of last season, there's a little bit of pressure on the manager now because I think it was a poor run at the end of the season. If they weren't to beat, dare I say it to you Spurs fans, beat Everton, then I think the next game is Man United away. The next one, I think,
it's Newcastle away. Then it's Newcastle
away, which is not easy. It's not easy, and then the North London derby, you could be under a little bit of pressure.
Oh,
so the game now is a lot. He's a lot of pressure, which I think you'd be okay, to be fair, because I think you've got good players. But, if it was to go a little bit wrong for you guys, I think there will be a little bit of pressure going on. Because I think Spurs have spent some good money. But is it enough for what you Spurs fans want? I'm not so sure. But I think you've got to believe in the manager at this moment in time and see how it goes. The good thing about Spurs last season was they had a good start. So they need, it's not the greatest of starts if when you look at it from that point of view, but I think you'd be okay. I don't like to say that, but I think you would.
We should be, but no, I think we definitely spent the money, Lee, and we thought a lot about for the future, which I think is great and makes me think it's a project. But only really one improvement from the starting 11 with last season. It is Solanke, and when you finish 5th, you want to get back into that top 4. Villa improving in and around you, West Ham improving around you. He's slightly worrying the end of the season that Palace had, but I think that we should be okay. Before we kind of wrap up for today, Lewis, I'm going to ask this question to you. It's about Spurs. How serious do you think Ange Postecoglou would take the Europa League? Yeah, of course you can ask it, Cookie. So what do you think of this? I mean, I hope he treats it seriously, because I think, if we treat it seriously, we can progress to the latter stages. We have the players and we now have the squad depth, don't we, Lewis?
Yeah, we do. I think just based off squad depth, squad quality, I think we have the ability to win it, but it all does depend on how seriously Ange takes it. And I do have a slight feeling he might not take it as seriously as I want him to. I don't know why I have that feeling. Maybe it's because of the last season in the Carabao Cup against Fulham away. We just put out a weak lineup and then we eventually got knocked out. And I think to be fair, the last season with the FA Cup, we were playing decent. Unfortunately, we got the Man City draw, which obviously eventually knocked us out. But I really hope he takes it seriously, because I feel like we could win it. But I think he will. I think he will take it a bit seriously, but I think he might play like a kind of half strength, full strength, half kind of B team sort of lineup. I think we will kind of mix it about a little bit, so which may end up in us getting knocked out later in about the quarters or the semis.
Yeah, if we treat it seriously, we can definitely do well. But I agree with Barney. We've had a good window, but we need to have a cup run as well. It's been way too long. Bit more than a cup run, but a cup run will be better than nothing, I suppose. Before we wrap up for today, I want to preview or quickly just get your score predictions for both Arsenal and Tottenham's next game. So the first one that comes up is on the Saturday, Spurs. So Lee, what's your score prediction for this one?
2-0. 2-0 Everton. No, seriously.
Thank you. Well, if it's 2-0 Everton, then you're right about the pressure on Postecoglou. So let's go to the second score. Sophie, what's the score going to be in this?
It's tough because Everton need to bounce back after that awful result. But so do you. I mean, I know you didn't lose, but you do need to get a win. So I'm thinking 2-1 Spurs. I think Everton will want to try and get something out of this, but you should really win this game. I mean, if Everton keep up their bad form, I think, I just see you winning this. I think you've got to really get back to winning ways, because if you win this, you can go on a really good run. So you've got to win.
Yeah, we got to win. No pressure, but we got to win. No, I do agree with you, though. I do think it has a draw written all over it, though, with both teams needing a win. That's always how it goes. I think that'd be awful for both teams, in particular us. I mean, we should be going into that Newcastle game really with 6 points, but going to it with 1 point is a bit ouch. Yeah, because when you go into games like the North London derby, like that Newcastle game, you go to James's Park, 6 points on the board, find yourself probably in the first, top 5-6. Yeah, it eases the pressure, but we probably go to James's Park in the bottom half. So we need to get a result, and we know how it sometimes goes up there, especially in recent years. Lewis, what's your score prediction for this one? Come on, bit positivity.
No, I will be positive. I'll go 3-1 Spurs, and I'll say that because I think our players. I think first game back at home for this season, I think our players will be really up for it, to show us that we can to try and bounce back from Monday. I think players and I think all the squad be very up to just proving to the fans how good we are. I think I can definitely see us scoring a few. I think hopefully Solanke will be scoring one, but we ain't going to be keeping a clean sheet, because you all know probably a Dominic Calvert-Lewin header in the last minute just to stick a clean sheet away will be definitely on the cards. But no, I think we'll win this game, and I think we'll be taking a lot of positives into Newcastle away.
Yeah, definitely. I hope you're right anyway. It is Villa versus Arsenal, Villa versus Arsenal for your game. I mean, this is a really interesting one. It's certainly one I'll be watching. Sophie, what do you think the score will be in this one? Because it has potential to be a really tough game for Arsenal, maybe even a hurdle.
Yeah, I hate that this is our next game coming up, because I look at our performance and I think some other players need to sort of step up a bit. I mean, we can't make the mistakes we made against Wolves. We got away with it. I think this could go so many different ways. Like, I could see them winning this. I could see us winning it. It could be a draw. You don't know. Because they'll really want to continue their good form. But I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. I think it will be interesting actually to see who kind of starts like that midfield. If Trossard starts, Martinelli starts. But I feel like with Havertz, Saka, I've got that confidence now that one of them could score. We've got to win this. I mean, can you imagine Twitter if we don't win it? There's going to be a big meltdown. But yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. I think it's a tough game because Villa are so good. They're very clinical. But it could go so many different ways, this result, honestly.
Yeah, it certainly can. Lee, what are you thinking ahead of this one? I mean, I agree with Sophie personally that it could go either way. It was a hurdle for you last season, both home and away to Villa. Can you change this?
I think we got to. I think we got to. As simple as that. Like, we've got to improve on last season, and that is getting something from there. And we owe them. So difficult team to play, difficult game. Not saying it. We expect it to be difficult, but I'm going to say it now. I think if City were going there on Saturday, I would think that City would win that game. So, and if you're competing with City, you've got to win this game. We've got 2 massive games away from home coming up after this. We've got Spurs, of course, which is always a difficult game for the reasons we know, and then Manchester City. So at the end of the day, potentially we can drop points in all of our next 3 away games. So we've somehow got to make sure that we go to that game against City unscathed. And this is a massive game, massive game. And I'm going to go on the fact that we owe this 0-1, and I think that we'll win it 2-0. That's more of my heart saying it than my head, but we have to win this game. I know it's, I think this. If Arsenal win this game, they've got a chance of winning the league. I know it sounds so silly when you say it so early, but if they lose this game, I think it's going to be really hard to win the league this season. So because City are not going to drop many points. The so-and-so they dropped 2 points from January to May. So you don't want to be like dropping points at Villa, dropping points at Spurs, then losing to City. It's all over. So I think that we've got somewhere along the line, out of Man City, all right, let's put Man City in there. Out of Man City, Villa and Spurs, we have got to win one of those games. Got to win one of those games, So
it's little things. I think even like getting 4 points, off Villa, if you like, rather than getting 0, and it's like City beating them and then drawing 1. It's little things where you so fine margins that you can change second to first place.
Yeah, and I think that if we go to Villa and get the result, I know this you might find this a bit funny to say, but if we go to Villa and get the result, it gives you the confidence then going into a game against Spurs. You know what I mean? Like when you've
of course it does.
One of the big teams. Let's just face it, Villa are one of the big teams, Champions League side. You go there, it gives you that confidence to go there. You lose to Villa, it makes you a little bit shaky going to Spurs. It's just as what you were saying about the Newcastle thing. So I think everybody I think Sophie's right. We could end up losing this one game. We could end up drawing this or whatever. But I'm gonna stick my neck out and say that that we'll win this one. If we play to our ability, we'll win it.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that you will get the job done actually as well. I'm gonna go with 3-1 Arsenal. I think Villa will be good, but Arsenal I think are looking good already. Certainly what I've seen in pre-season as well, by the Leverkusen game in particular. Lewis, what do you think the score will be in this one before we wrap up for today?
Well, I would love to say maybe be a draw or Villa win, but I don't see it. I don't. I think Arsenal will have too much quality for Aston Villa, and I can see it being maybe a 1-0 to Arsenal. I think it'll be a very tight game. A game of 2 brilliant sides going at it, and I think I could see maybe like 70th, 80th minute an Arsenal winner from maybe someone like Saka or Martinelli, a player like that, I think. But no, I think this is a game, if as you've said, that if they're going to be fighting for the league, it's a game they need to win. And I think they will win. I think they'll do it. I think it'll be a very tight game, and I think it'll probably be one where Villa may look on the back of it thinking they could have got a point. But I do think Arsenal will just about sneak it. And I am generally worried about Arsenal winning the league this year. I really am, because I think they're probably I think they're probably maybe one quality signing from their midfield or attack, probably away from doing so. So I think
the top number 9, and Ivan Toney, Alexander Isak, tight present striker.
Yeah,
they are.
Away.
They're very close to
nearly there, or like
capable.
maybe another midfielder along with Odegaard and Rice.
Because don't get me wrong. I think the signing of Calafiore is a great signing, but if I was an Arsenal fan, I probably maybe would have wanted that money to go to a position higher up the pitch. So I do think their defense is too good that you don't really need to be strengthening. But don't get me wrong, I feel that's still a brilliant signing because the Calafiore had a brilliant Euros. Obviously, he was stuck in there. He had a brilliant season last season in Serie A. But I still think Arsenal are probably one signing in the midfield or attack from winning the league. But I think Arsenal will go here, and I think they'll just have enough quality for Villa.
No, I do agree. And that kind of wraps us nicely for the second Premier League show of the season where we reviewed Matchday 1. Thank you very much to everyone who tuned in for their questions, for their comments. A lot of new faces in here, a couple of new subscribers. So thank you to all of you for tuning in once again. From now until October, they won't be hosted by myself as I go into GCSE year, but we're in safe hands with a few different hosts who will be given the opportunity. So no, they'll be really, really good. And we've got some fantastic guests lined up as well. I mean, some of them, big faces already tonight. Lee, firstly, thank you very much for coming on. Where can people find you? I mean, they should know.
Obviously, like Lee Mark Judges on Twitter and Instagram, and of course Lee Judges TV. That's where you get me.
No, thank you very much.
I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that today. Really good.
Fantastic to hear. No, it was a good one. Thank you very much, Lee. Sophie, thank you. Where can people find you?
Thank you so much for having me on, first of all. It's been so good. I've really enjoyed this. But yeah, if you want to find me on Twitter, amtv_Guna, or if you want to find me on YouTube where I chat about Arsenal, just give me a follow, Guna Gossip TV. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's been good, and big up to everyone in the chat as well. Make sure to subscribe to Harry's channel as well, because you're doing amazing on your channel.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Big up, Nick. Thank you very much for joining in and subscribing. No worries about being late. Thank you very much for tuning in. Lewis, where can people find you and talk to people again, as always, about your role within the team here?
Yeah, so as people might know, I'm the admin on Scarfe Spurs Talk, and I just do a bit of the admin work on Twitter or X, whatever. But my personal account is Romero17 said there. I don't not too active on there, but I mean, by all means, you can go and drop it a follow if you want to, because hopefully I'll post a bit more throughout the season.
Yeah, that would be great. They're great to see. I'm sure your content would be great. But thank you very much to everyone who tuned in. I'll see you next week for the Premier League show, as always, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Thank you very much.